We've got breaking news. Abortion rights will officially be on the ballot in Arizona in November after the state tonight certified a ballot initiative that would enshrine access to abortion up to roughly 24 weeks of pregnancy into the state's constitution. This comes as a growing number of Republicans are fed up with Trump and Trumpism's hold on their party, and they are determined to win Arizona. A group of Republicans prominent in Arizona politics are now not only endorsing Kamala Harris for president, but actively working to help her campaign by reaching out to Republican voters who feel marginalized by Trump's MAGA movement.
One of the biggest reasons I'm voting for Kamala Harris, and I would have voted for Joe Biden, is that they are not Donald Trump.
We are here to send a clear message. Arizonans are rejecting Donald Trump and his failed leadership.
Another Trump term with J.D. Vance would be far worse and would lead our country down a path that I don't think we could ever recover from.
The Republican mayor of Mesa, Arizona, John Giles, a leader of the Republicans for Harris movement, gave a powerful speech at the sold-out Harris Walls rally outside of Phoenix on Friday.
I do not recognize my party. It has been the Republican Party has been taken over by extremists that are committed to forcing people in the center of the political spectrum out of the party. So I have something to say to those of us who are in the political middle. You don't owe a damn thing to that political party. In particular, you do not owe anything to a party that is out of touch and is hell-bent on taking our country backward. And by all means, you owe no displaced loyalty to a candidate that is morally and ethically bankrupt. So again, to all of us, I would say, in the spirit of the great Senator John McCain, please join me in putting country over party and stopping Donald Trump and protecting the rule of law, protecting our Constitution, and protecting the democracy of this great country. That is why I'm standing with Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
Listen to that applause. The Arizona Republicans are also taking a stand against Trump-endorsed election denier Kari Lake, choosing instead to support the Democratic nominee Ruben Gallego for Senate in Arizona. To them, the Republican Party has been corrupted by Donald Trump and his sycophants to the point where the only answer is for it to be defeated. Many of these Republicans for Harris worked for the late Arizona Senator John McCain, who is revered in the state. You saw when John Giles said McCain's name, how loudly the crowd applauded. McCain's revered in the state. And in the Trump era, he stood for honor against a commander-in-chief who attacked McCain, a war hero who was tortured by the enemy in Vietnam. Trump said, quote, "I like people who weren't captured," end quote. Our next guest, Paul Hickman, worked for John McCain. He told the Arizona Mirror, quote, "The far-right politicians who have hijacked the Republican Party do not have the temperament or the aptitude for public service. They're not concerned with governing or delivering for Arizona. They are unwilling to work across the aisle to seek practical solutions to the crises we face. They only want power, and they want to play games." Joining us now is Paul Hickman, former policy director and state director to Senator John McCain. He's endorsed Congressman Ruben Gallego in his U.S. Senate race, and he's a member of Republicans for Harris. Paul, thank you for being with us. What's going on in Arizona, and we saw this in 2022 in the elections then, we saw what feels like a coalition. It's not simply random Republicans joining to support Democrats. It's the idea that Arizona has a proud political history, and to many Republicans, it seemed to be offensive what some of these election deniers and extremists were doing to Arizona's history and Arizona's conservative history.
Well, that's exactly right, Ali. And first of all, thank you for having me on. And I can tell you what is going on in Arizona is the same thing that's going on in many states. The folks here are seeing the Republican Party nominate people for important offices who are more interested in scoring partisan political points than in solving problems. And Kari Lake, the Senate candidate that's running against Representative Gallego and Donald Trump, are exhibits A and B of that. The people I'm talking to are looking at those two candidates and they're seeing two people who can't focus on the future. And elections are about the future, not so much about the past.
When I spoke to Republicans over the last few years in Arizona, particularly the late Grant Woods, what they are seeing in some of the Democratic candidates, like your Democratic Secretary of State, for instance, is people who work in service to their country. That's how Arizonans seem to see their politicians. And I know Arizonans have crossed political lines many times in the past because liberals have liked conservative candidates and conservatives have liked liberal candidates. But country over party seems to have come first in most cases.
Yeah, that's, I think, a good way of stating it, Ali. That's, I think, how most voters view it here. And they're not all from here, but they come here and they drink the water and they find themselves in search of candidates and office holders that are serious about holding the office, that aren't playing games. They don't view it as a rich man's hobby anymore. It never should have been that way. They want candidates that want to put their brains on serious problems. And we have plenty of serious problems that need to get solved.
There are many people who have disavowed the Republican Party, others who have said, no, we're Republicans. You can't push us out of our own party. But there are others who have also said, including John Giles, that the party's probably got to burn to the ground so that a phoenix can rise from the ashes. What's your sense of how you get your party back? It's bad for our political system that we don't have two functioning parties.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're a two-party country, right? So if we have one party that morphs itself into a cult of personality, and then we have a Democratic Party, what are you going to do? Where do we go from there? And I don't think anybody has the answer to that question yet. So are people like Mayor Giles and Mayor Campana, who you had in your earlier shot, and myself, and there's plenty of us, are we going to try to create a center-right wing of the Democratic Party? I don't think that's going to work. I think we've got to take this party back. This party has a grand tradition. This is the party that ended slavery. This is the party of free markets and low taxes and low regulation. It's not the party that should be caught up in the culture wars, right? We've got more serious things to solve than that. So the question is, where do we go from here? I don't know, but I know that in the spirit of my late boss, we got to keep trying. We can't just surrender and throw in the flag. There are a lot of people that would say to him at certain times, well, the hell with it, you know, if you can't beat them, join them, or they're going to win anyway. And he would say, you know, they might win this fight, but let's not make it easy for them. Yeah. And let's continue to engage. Never stop, never quit. And that's, I think, the spirit that we need to focus on, because this party's worth saving, Ali. It really is.